everything. It just was like, this is a new screw. I mean, it just, because it keeps updating with the
Yeah.
different AI faces. I'm like,
Oh, it's failed to restart.
yeah, and that's what I did. Like I tried 3 different things I thought of and just restarted.
Okay. Ready. All right, so here we are on the 17th of February. Hope everyone had a nice Valentine's Day weekend or holiday weekend or whatever it was. And Jim is here to give us a monthly report. Morning. Road salt, the first item.
Yeah,
Never in my life, road salt.
so the last time we met, I told you how basically there was like a statewide shortage.
Yeah.
A lot of towns and stuff were being cut off. Anyway, Morton seems to have gotten their act together and we were able to get our annual order in and delivered. Came out of South Portland versus Portsmouth. That was delivered a couple weeks ago and we're back to normal plowing and salting and trying to get the parking lots to bear off. This past month, we've had a number of contractors in here just doing variety of maintenance. We've had Hampshire Fire Protection in here doing sprinkler systems. Stanley Elevator doing elevators, Daniels Equipment Company in here doing ozone system maintenance. And nothing earth shaking with any of it, most of it, everything passed. We're also doing our backflow device testing. It's an in-house procedure that we do. We got a couple guys that are qualified to do that. And we have approximately 50 devices across the complex that we have to test. So that's been done. We did have a couple that didn't pass the test and we had to dig into them and do some repairs to them, but they're back up and running. Moving down to the courthouse, we had a problem with AC1, which is the main air handler for the majority of the building. The heat valve or heat coil had sprung a leak at this 3-way valve. We were able to actually get a part for this, as old as it is. So that was good, got that repaired. I think the last time we met, I told you we had some isolation valves up in the ceiling that we'd gone to exercise to repair a sink, and one of them busted internally, and it affected a judge's chamber 1 where his toilet and sink weren't working. Anyway, that's all been repaired, put back together, so everything's back up. Moving down to still in the courthouse, one of the devices that failed was the boiler makeup water backflow device. That had to be rebuilt with a new kit. Moving down to the nursing home. Working on one of Craig's projects, and that was adding secure care controls at 11 new locations to basically part of that wander guard system to keep patients from wandering out of the facility. So that went smoothly. We did come up with a 12th location that had been previously overlooked. We're going to be back, I think, Thursday of this week. In this upgrade, the new system is on a different frequency than the original doors. Say the original doors, I'm talking like the main entrance, the employee entrance in Meadow. They're on a different frequency. And the reason why they went to a new frequency is at some point, Craig would like to put proximity card readers in the facility. In fact, I think he's working on it now, requesting money to do that. But the old frequency would interfere with those proximity cards, so we went with this newer frequency. So, moving to page 2, we're still waiting on a heating coil for heat recovery unit 2. We still have a small pinhole leak in that. Just kind of limping by. Air handler HRU 5, we had a hot water coil burst in that. Made quite a mess, but we've got that. Had to pull it out, patch it, put it back in. It's back up and running. We found out what caused it. It was an actuator to an outside air damper that had stuck open when it shouldn't have. So we fixed that too. Moving down, we did have a leak in this dry sprinkler system in the 69 building attic that had been temp patched until Hampshire came to do the quarterlies, and then they took care of that when they were here. We just completed our annual fire and smoke door inspections throughout the nursing home. There's probably 250 doors that we have to actually inspect and document. Make sure that they meet code. And so that's been done. We also had 4 resident bathrooms where we're having problems with the vinyl starting to lift at the entrances. They're not real bad yet, but they're getting there. One of them's been repaired. Valley Floors has got some more material ordered. We tried this repair in one door. It worked well, so we ordered more material to fix those other 3. Moving down to the Department of Corrections, we had an inmate in cell 3, C3, that damaged a sprinkler head, tried prying it off the wall and damaged it. So we had to replace that. Moving over to page 3, the fuel storage tank, just a final follow-up on that. The contents of the underground storage tank, or UST, has been polished 3 times since that last fiasco that I talked about in the past. And Lakes Region Environmental has been back on site. They've reconfigured all the equipment back to where it's all auto-fill from the underground storage tank to the above-ground day tank. So everything's back to normal there. We also had a backflow device in this particular facility that failed its test. It had to be disassembled, cleaned, and then retested. Let's see, moving down to the maintenance farm building, we had a dry system air leak in that sprinkler system as well that we had temp patched. Once again, they were here, we had them take care of it. Hampshire Fire. Moving down to the pig barn, we had a problem with the fire panel going into trouble. It turns out the main circuit board for that had failed. So that's been since replaced. And then in the biomass, at the last quarterly inspection, Hampshire Fire had written up some seals on a couple of control valves that were leaking. And when they were here this time, they brought the parts and we were able to get that to stop leaking. And then moving down to the alternative sentencing building, what used to be the old break room is now officially a office with no evidence whatsoever that a kitchen was actually in there. Carpet's been patched, the cold base been things painted. Anyway, I think Nicole's pretty happy with the outcome. Moving down to the bottom, we're still down that one man that's been out on FMLA. Got extended mid-March now. So he's been out for 3 months, you know. And then lastly, just which I thought was pretty significant in the budgeting process, Woodsville Water and Light is seeking a bond vote in March to complete a $6.5 million renovation of their sewer treatment plant. And if that gets approved, they anticipate a 65% increase for all their sewer customers sometime in 2027.
So
That'll be huge.
we remember that in the visit with them. It was 7 million at the time, wasn't it? And then why 65%? Maybe I'm thinking of the water system. 7 million and 25% increase. So this is 6.5 million and a 65% increase.
That I've been told. So, you know, they said, you know, if this doesn't go through, plan for at least a 15% increase on your sewer. But if it does go through, plan for a 65.
Now, do they, is our water bill based on our sewer bill? You know what I mean? Some of them are based on what you're putting out. And that's what
So
you're taking in.
we have a sewage meter here in the complex that actually meters the sewage. Prior to my arrival here at the complex, there wasn't one. And so the way we would get charged was whatever water went into a building is assumed to be the sewage coming out.
Right, yeah.
But that factor doesn't really apply to like the dairy barn, you know, like the cows, of course, the pig in a gutter. It's not going into the sewage.
Yeah.
So, or the water used at like the greenhouse or something like that, or watering lawns and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So that meter did save, saved us a substantial amount of money, having that meter in there, being able to pay for exactly what we're using.
That's pretty steep. Is there anything we need to follow up with? I mean, is this something that they have to do based on a DES?
Well, I think,
Sure.
I mean, the plant is, what was that, built in the eighties? Okay, and I don't think it's ever seen a major upgrade, and I know once they hit capacity, I want to say it's 85% for so many years, they're forced into an upgrade. And so I think it's just something that's been long overdue that I'm sure it is from a regulatory standpoint that it's forcing them in that direction, so.
The Littleton just had an upgrade and theirs was a $2.5 million upgrade that the town has to just vote on.
But was that plant, well, when was that plant put in first?
I don't remember, but I know that it was, sounded like a similar situation.
And did it ever undergo any sort of renovation
It did.
or modification over the years? I mean, you think about this,
This was delayed, a lot of delayed renovation work, whatever, the one in Littleton, I believe.
so Grafton County was the one, I believe, that actually, I think, paid for that plant to be put in, and all the sewer main from here to there was put in, God, that had to have been, what, late eighties, Jewel? And then basically or maybe the plant was already there, and they just ran the pipe to
We
there.
ran the pipe.
That was it. Okay, so that correction, but anyway, I've seen documentation in the past where, the county, when they went from septic tanks to the pump stations that pump all the way down to Woodsville, and then eventually they got Woodsville to take over the line. Of course, it seemed like a good thing at the time, but of course, it's gonna come back, and in one way or another, we're gonna pay.
Right, yeah.
But
What, do you know what
that's a lot.
percentage we are of the system?
What is what now?
What percentage our sewage is of the overall system?
No, that's a good question. I do know that, like, for instance, when Woodsville wanted to put in like the industrial park, probably what, Julie, that was in the late nineties, maybe early 2000. Okay. They wanted to connect onto the system, and they had to put, they called an interceptor in there, and that's when I think everything was signed over to Woodsville at that point. Said, okay, yeah, April, if you want this, you can have it. And we were capped at, I think, I want to say like 37,500 gallons going through that interceptor. Right now, probably, and that's per day. Right now, we'll probably put in 20,000, so we're not even close to that. But I don't know what the overall capacity is of the plant and what percentage of ours makes up the total flows.
Just wondering, is everyone's going up 65?
Everyone's going up.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're probably one of their largest customers, I would imagine.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we'll probably bear a good portion of it.
Yeah, thank you for that. And we have had these conversations with Woodsville Water and Light before, and we know what a large customer of Woodsville Water and Light the county is. And I just wanted to point that out. If I could just make a comment, I just want to point out this update to members of the public who are online. This is the way that things work. This is an external factor coming from local government that has absolutely nothing to do with county government. So we had the debate about the courthouse, and now we have this major renovation that appears to be needed. And if it passes, if the bond passes, then there'll be a 65 increase in the sewer bills, and we are an enormous customer of them. And I just want to point that out. Grafton County does try very, very hard in the time that I've been here to keep its budget. We are attentive to every single line. And I just want to point out that this is something external that we have absolutely nothing to do with. And there you go. It is what it is.
Yeah, and this isn't even the water Plymouth did.
That's,
We
this
also
isn't even
learned
the,
about-
this isn't even that.
Right, but we had already been told of big water increases here.
Yeah. Yeah, right, right.
So is there any other information we should have about this before, I don't,
Are there any quick questions you want me to ask?
well, that's what
I
I'm
can certainly
wondering.
Follow up.
Yeah, it's just I haven't read about this one the way I've read about the one that was going on in Littleton and going through, reading that before that all
Well-
had to come about, but this is the first we've heard of this.
Okay.
So it would be helpful to understand a little bit more.
I'll reach out to Kevin. I'm sure they must have something they're gonna be putting in the paper, because I can't imagine
Yeah.
that they would be giving this to the customer. One, they're gonna be seeking support to pass this.
Right.
This bill, so they're gonna have to explain it well. So I'll see if I can get a copy of whatever it is
Yeah, that they're,
they're educating everybody on.
yep, that would be great.
It's also a little surprising. I know Plymouth was able to, had needed some major upgrades. I think more on the water side, but did have some sewer, but they were able to leverage a number of grants. So
Oh.
I would hope that, in addition to this bond, perhaps there's some grants being sought by the, Water and Light Company.
Yeah, that would be helpful too, to understand the financing.
Ask about the grants if they.
Yeah.
If they had any.
So maybe the project is really a $10 million project and they're, you know,
Right.
Yeah.
they're reducing it or something. I don't know.
All right. So whatever I get, I'll just pass on.
Yeah, thank
All
you.
of you.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I'm all set, thank you.
Thanks, Jen.
Thank you.
All right, let's see if we can get a few things
Yeah,
done
sure.
here. We'll look at the minutes from February 10th. And were there any?
I didn't have any.
I had one very small change that I have to go back to it, but the word into was one word, and I think in the sentence it should be two separate words, and I think it auto corrected, so.
Okay, sounds good. And do we have a motion?
I'll make a move to accept the minutes as amended.
And all in favor?
I,
Motion passes. We have one check res,
Look at this today. Nice easy day back.
right, this one. It's familiar. Okay. When do you want to go into next, Julie?
We can talk about the courts.
Okay, we have time.
Yeah.
All right.
So I met with Sarah Lineberry last week. Our lease on the, with the state on the courthouse, expires on June 30th of this year, so we talked through a couple of different scenarios, and what we decided on was a 2-year agreement. Whether we do anything with the courthouse or not in the next 2 years, nothing's gonna change with the building that they're in unless we were to do some sort of renovations to the building, and then we would have to talk about that. But this is the proposal that Sarah brought forward. They're proposing that we do a 2-year lease with a 3% increase in the first year and a 2% increase in the second year. And then this breaks down what we currently receive in, so we have, the agreement is for both court space and then 100 square feet of storage space at a different rate, obviously, so the bottom shows you the combined, our current lease agreement with the state of New Hampshire for court space is $338,208 more. The 3% would increase that, to 348, 353.84, an increase of $10,145.84. And then in the second year of the agreement, which would expire on June 30th, 2028. It would be 2% and that would increase the annual to 355, 321. Which is another $7,000 increase.
So is that total increase supposed to be 16,000?
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely. is.
So, question.
And it's a 2% over the 3%,
It's the 3% in the first year.
Yeah.
And a 2% in the second year.
but the 2% is over the.
Yeah.
total- Yeah,
It's a 2% increase on the 3% increase. That's what
Okay.
you're asking me.
yes, thank you.
Can you remind us, Julie, of what the history of the rate increases have been? Sorry.
Off the top of my head.
I know we pushed back last year
Mhm.
because it was like, what, were they looking for 1% or nothing? I can't remember.
Yeah.
I think last year,
were successful.
I think they were looking for nothing.
Yeah.
Last year, and I think we had a 2% last year. We
Okay,
like
okay.
to a 2%.
So 3% for the coming year and 2%. I don't mean to be, I'm very happy that they're not asking for a 0%.
That is what I was expecting, so I was very surprised with the proposal that we received.
Yeah, and I just want to point out that in the past, I don't know how many times, but when we have negotiated, I think we've been successful in terms of getting more money. So my only question, not to be too parsing or frugal or whatever, but my only question is there any reason why we go from 3% to 2%? And is it possible for them, what's their reasoning that the second year is cheaper and can we raise that to 3% also?
I don't know what the reasoning is. She didn't tell me that. I didn't ask that question, so
Yeah,
And the lease goes through what?
June 30th of 2028
Okay, so,
is the second year.
so this is really they're trying to do their budget working on their budget for the next.
And the total increase, if we add those two numbers over the two increases, 17,112 and 86 cents.
I thought it was the same.
Thank you.
What is it?
It's 17,112.86 because it's almost 7,000 and just over 10,000.
Oh. So can I just make a suggestion? That's all. I just want to make a suggestion. I understand that they're doing their budget and we're doing ours too. And we know that it's going to be a tough budget year and we represent our constituents, which are Grafton County residents. Can we advocate for our county residents and ask for a 3% in the second year as well, just to
I think
advocate?
that's reasonable.
I think I'm agreeing just to start that, but I think that we're all in a state of with the revenues
Mhm.
for our state and our county. Our sources of revenue are difficult and this will be coming out of people's the judiciaries had their budgets decreased also, so I think we're all trying to do our best and
Yeah,
I agree, trying.
okay. And if I could just make and I agree, and if I could just make a follow-up to that, I completely agree with what Commissioner Hedberg is saying. But it just seems to me, since I've been doing this, that the state is careful to protect its revenue, its sources, just like thinking in terms of, serving on the, what's it called, the county state finance committee. They do what they need to do to protect, they preserve the revenue that they feel that they need to at the county's expense. So that's why I,
Right,
even
and,
though I
and,
agree.
and I'm not disagreeing
I
with
know.
that, I'm just saying,
I
in
know.
general, revenues for the state are down
know.
in general. So
Yeah.
that was a more of a general
Yep.
statement.
So thank you for your agreement on that.
Julie, do you have thoughts?
Oh,
No, that's fine. I just was bringing their proposal and I can certainly, reach back out to Sarah with the counter.
Yeah,
Great.
thank you.
thank you.
Thanks. You don't get it, you don't ask.
There you go.
Great. So we're back to our agenda, and Karen, why don't you join us at the
Hey.
table?
I'm looking forward to this discussion.
So remind us what we're talking about. We had a request to review the employee manual for the interpretation
Earn
of
time.
earned
Right.
time.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I reviewed the memo from the employee. Yeah, and it looks like they're requesting clarification to the county's interpretation of the earned time accrual provisions. So this particular employee leave, they were gone for 5 or 6 months and they came back. In that instance, according to our handbook, what happens is you're paid out all of your accruals when you leave as a terminated employee. And if you return to county employment, you're a new hire. So the small snippet of the policy that was put into the memo, I think what the employee was questioning is the earned time is accrued per each year from the employee's anniversary date. And that's really kind of the key to look at. And you have to look at our handbook as a whole to get what the anniversary date is.
Mhm.
So what our handbook says is that if an employee leaves Grafton County and is rehired, the rehired date replaces the employee's original date of hire, which gives you a new anniversary date.
Right, so
Mhm.
somebody could be here for 20 years and leave and then come back and be a brand new employee.
Correct.
So then they would be at the lowest earned time.
Yep. And that's not just for earned time, longevity is paid out. You don't start accruing longevity again.
That's the county.
According to our union contracts, seniority starts all over again. So that's, to me, this policy is not unclear once you put everything together, your date of hire, your anniversary date, your accrual date.
How, do you know how often this happens where employees that have been here a while, they even come back?
I wouldn't say it happens. A lot of times people will go per diem and they return to full time. Again, your accrual date readjusts then. A lot of times, we actually just had an LNA leave who had been here for years and was gone very short period of time, maybe 2 or 3 months, and decided to come back. So it does happen.
Question. So this employee who's asking for clarification did not take a leave. This employee terminated.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Terminated, went to another
Correct.
position,
Correct.
and then came back
Came
5 or
back.
6 months later.
Other questions?
I just think it is, I'm trying to think back to other employees and how it was done in other places, and I think that there's been a variety of ways. I don't have a good question because I was trying to remember.
Do people ever ask for a waiver of that? And is that something that?
We've never had a request for a waiver, no. This, and I think you're right, there are all different kinds of ways you can do it. This is, in my opinion, the cleanest.
And this is not, this is not a new policy. This has been an ongoing policy that once you leave, you're all paid out and then you start again on a new date.
Yeah,
It's kind of tough. I understand. I mean, I understand the issue. And surprised people come back actually after a long time. You know what I mean? Like, who would want to start all over again?
The person who wanted to leave.
Yes, but I
And decided that the county was a better place to work.
yeah, and then came back, yeah.
I mean, there's gotta be something here that brought them back, so.
Yeah.
As far as policy clarification, I don't, however you wanna do, whatever you wanna do with this inquiry, the policy is clear.
Mhm.
Now, if the employee is requesting a policy change, well, that's a whole different avenue.
I don't think.
That goes to the
They-
employee council.
Right.
But the policy is written, it's clear.
So maybe we need to have you write a letter for us to respond to the employee?
Sure.
And
Good idea.
explain that, and then,
Good idea for the clarification.
then that's something they could take to, like you said, to the employee council for future consideration.
Right. And, this is a good time to do that. Every year during
Right.
budget season,
Mhm.
we look at employee council requests and,
Right.
we never change the handbook without taking it to the employee council and letting them review the changes and asking them if they have any
Yeah,
areas they want looked at, so.
that sound like a.
Yeah.
Way forward to response.
Yes, I think, trying to get my thoughts together. Yes, it does sound a good way forward and like a good way forward, and I'm very comfortable with the policy. I wouldn't make any other comments unless we were in non-public. But I think that the policy is clear. And I think that I'm happy with the application of it in this instance. And would be happy for you to write a letter for us to clarify that. And then I wouldn't recommend, as a commissioner, I wouldn't recommend any second steps. If this situation ends up in the employee council, fine, but I wouldn't recommend, I wouldn't advocate.
I think what you're saying perhaps is we will answer the question that was
Exactly.
asked of us, and which is clarification of the policy.
Yeah, but I do think it's. Explaining that those things go to the employee council is helpful to know. I mean, I didn't.
So
know
someone
that.
would know
I
the
didn't
next step
Yeah.
if
I-
they
If this
if they
person
decided
wants
to pursue
If
it.
this person wants to, then this is something that
Yeah.
that person
Yeah,
can
could
take up.
do,
Right,
but
Okay,
that's just the
okay,
way those things.
okay.
that this is the procedure,
Yeah.
and not that you have to do this, but this is the way
Yeah.
things, any changes would go through this
Right.
procedure.
I don't know. Does that sound comfortable?
Sure. Do you want me to draft the letter and then you all sign it back to the employee, or do you want me to write it on your behalf and just send it from me?
Yeah, it came to us.
Probably if the human resources director could draft the letter and give it to us, since it came,
Yeah.
it came to us.
Right, exactly.
Yes.
But we appreciate your input and your explanation.
Yeah.
Decide.
All right, I will.
It can
get
take a
that back
half
to
an
you.
hour.
No, that was easy. Probably the easiest thing you'll do all day.
Probably. Thank you.
Have a good day.
Okay, wow. We're just moving right through things. Okay, so next, if we want to take it up this way, the audit bid recommendation.
Yep, so last week we opened 2 bids for our annual audit for the next 3 fiscal years, 26, 27, and 28. We received 2 bids. Just to refresh your minds, the first one was from Vashon Kuke, who are our current auditors. And their bid was for 45,000 the first year, 47,000 the second year, and 49,000 in the third year. That is inclusive of our single audits, which we are required to have.
Mhm. How
The,
many single audits do we have to do? Or is that a choice of the?
it depends. So how many major programs get audited, it depends on the amount of federal
Money,
funding that
okay.
you received.
Right.
This year was the first year that we've had to do 3 major programs.
Yikes, okay.
The other proposal was from Clifton Larson Allen LLP. Their proposal was broken down with the financial audit And then an additional cost for the single audit, but combined it was 71,000 for the first year, 73,000 for the second year, and 75,000 for the final year. I've looked through, Holly and I both looked through, the proposals that we received from both companies. We, looked at, all of the. Trying to find the spreadsheet that I did that I can't find. Looked at all of the references, Vashon does, I'm going from the, Clifton Larson does 2 counties. They have just started in both Belknap and Sullivan counties. Hillsborough, Merrimack uses a different audit firm who's going out of business next year, and everybody else uses Vashon.
Mm.
So.
Mm.
We are very happy with Vashon. They've been our auditors for the last 3. They're just finishing out their first contract with us for the first 3-year agreement. I would recommend that we select the proposal from Vashon. Significantly less money. And I said, we're perfectly happy with their work product and
So the only thought I have is that often when you have the same company for again, and maybe this second or 3 years is not such an issue, but often you get a different partner in charge of that, just so that you don't have those relationships in the auditing. I don't know. I just know from boards that I've served on, we will sometimes stay with the same company, but have a different partner be the primary on it. And that's just a way of making sure it's still independent.
well, I'll tell you, that's not the plan with the proposal that we
Right.
received from
Okay.
Vashon. This is only our second contract with them. The proposal is to have, the same manager who managed our program the last time to continue to be that. They're a small firm. They don't have a lot of staff. So
Must be at least 2 of them though, that are primaries, right? Vashon and Kluge. Is that what the,
none of them were, there's no Vashons or Kluges.
oh, there's none left in the firm? Anyways, I know this was the first time, so that's probably fine, but I think when you ongoing
Mhm.
use the same firm, it's a good idea to switch out. And so that may be something we want to look at in the future.
Yeah, just a follow-up. I think that's a really good point, especially given questions of transparency that have come up over the past couple years or whatever, however long in county government. I think that's in the time that I've been here, there has absolutely no problems. I think we're completely transparent, and we have to sign a paper every year, the commissioners, and I've happily signed that. But recently, there has been a public perception of transparency and to cross every T. I just think it's a
Yeah.
good idea to think about that at some point. I don't have any worries about the legitimacy of the audit.
Yeah, I think if we go through another 3 years and it's just something that I don't know, that is good best practice anyways with auditing, that you use a different,
It's a sort of a
Primary.
proactive.
yeah, just to make sure it's still independent.
Yep.
So people are comfortable with moving forward.
It's fine. Sorry, I keep kicking you. I'm sorry. Yes, I'm comfortable.
Commissioner,
Yes.
did you?
I did not have any questions.
All right, shall we make a motion to approve the Vashon?
So I'll make a motion to approve the audit bid from Vashon and
Okay.
Huke as described in their offer.
Second.
Right, any other questions or comments or thoughts? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
A while back, you approved the new contract with the sheriff's department, the Teamsters. This is just a formality of signing the actual contract document so that we can finalize that. Means for the county, there's a line for each of you to sign.
Great, and we have the January financial report, and I think that's in our packets here.
So, we are now 7 months through fiscal year 2026. On the revenue side, fortunately, right now, the nursing home is still above. If you look at the report that's specific to the nursing home, you'll see that their census, as you know, meeting with Craig last week, fell way off in January. We were at an average daily census of 120 in January versus the 124 that we budgeted. So if that trend continues, that will definitely create some revenue problems for us, but hopefully that once we're through winter illnesses and whatnot, we get back on track with being at or above our budgeted census. Fortunately, we are up on private pay residents, which is a higher payer source than some of our other payer sources, and our Medicare census has been staying steady.
Hmm.
Those are our two highest payer sources, so. Everything else. On the revenue side, looks good thus far. You'll note, on the interest. In December, I think we were almost $70,000 behind, with the January interest that we've earned. Now we're only about 25,000 behind, which is what. We expect to see happen because all of our investments are made, in December and January, and so, that's when we begin to earn the additional interest. So these are holding steady on the revenue side. On the expenditure side, this particular report, January has 3 payrolls. So you'll see, while the number of payrolls works itself out through the rest of the fiscal year, we have a lot of departments showing in the red, especially our smaller departments. Because this particular report takes all of our expenditures and divides it equally amongst 12 months, and you have 3 payroll per month, that doesn't do that, so it skews the numbers. Only thing that I would really point out on here that is of concern is, and that we are watching closely, is the Department of Corrections budget. I believe at the end of this month, out of $145,000 budget, they only have $15,000 left in the medical line.
Wow.
So
And we have been hearing that.
Yep.
and I think that is trending far above. I mean, if we trend that out for the rest of the fiscal year, we're probably talking about $100,000 over expenditure. Obviously, that is subject to many different unknown factors, but we're also looking, to me at this point in time, like we're gonna be overexpended in the salary line item for the correctional officers as well. So monitoring that, we do have money that will be available left over in the human service budget if we need to transfer money into the jail budget. But we'll continue to monitor that and we'll look more closely at that when we get towards May. Obviously, if that's more than a $5,000 transfer, that will require executive committee approval. So we'll look towards probably their May meeting to vet that out and see where we're at and see if we think that that's gonna have to happen, but.
Quick question. So what's the reason for the overage in the salary line?
The first good thing is that we've been fully staffed, generally speaking, for all of the fiscal year, which in years
Good.
past, that hasn't been the case. We've
Okay.
had excess money. The other thing that Superintendent Lethbridge told us a while back was with the increased medical expenses, they've had increased hospitalizations and they've had
Right.
overtime
Right.
just to be with people who are in our custody while they're at that
Thank
hospital.
you.
So I think we're seeing an increase in overtime as well as our staffing numbers being up, which is a good thing,
Yep.
but
Makes perfect sense.
it is resulting in that. So continuing to monitor that each month, the end of the month. This past month, we had some huge medical bills. I think we just paid one or just got one for over $20,000 for Dartmouth Hitchcock. So,
I will say, signing invoices, there are a significant number of them coming through and for, again, as Julie just mentioned, you know, not just the number, but the dollar amount on them is pretty remarkable.
And these are, just to add something else, just for educational purposes, these are expenses for inmates. And we do, work with other levels of government, obviously, but the federal government does not assume, there's always conversation in the legislative committee to ask the federal government to pick up more of the tab for medical expenses, and they don't. The federal government protects its resources, and so this falls, it's kind of ironic that this falls on the county. And what is it that Superintendent Lethbridge and I'm sorry, the head nurse told us that this is Shay, thanks, that this is what we're seeing, and I'm not completely sure of the reason, but a much higher is the word acuity, a much higher, more severe medical conditions coming into,
Most of it due to some sort of drug use.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
You said.
And I do believe that Superintendent Lethbridge said that if someone has a hospitalization, the hospital will work to get them on Medicaid for that hospitalization. But if it's an outpatient, Medicaid does not pay.
Yeah,
That was gonna be my question.
I think that's what he explained to us and we can get some clarification. But for outpatient and so emergency room does not count.
But it does make you wonder if we're paying full price. at
we're
Dartmouth?
not paying.
No.
full
Okay,
price. We
thank
do
you.
not, we have all of the
Okay,
hospitals that
thank you.
we pay because inmates are not eligible for Medicare, Medicaid. Once they're arrested, their Medicaid benefits are taken away from them. We have negotiated with the hospitals
From
to
us.
pay the Medicaid rate. So we
Okay,
don't
okay, thank
pay
you.
full rate to the hospitals.
That was.
You'll
my
know-
question.
If you ever look, the bills are not,
Oh, they're all changed. Yeah,
Less or
yeah,
amount.
yeah, they're all prorated.
Okay.
That's really the only area of concern that I have and that I will continue to monitor. Looking at if you look at the prorated report, 7 months through the fiscal year, 58.33%. Basically right on target with revenue. And right now, because of the third payroll, this structure trend is basically right in the budget as well with our expenditures. So, the financial update for the month of January.
thank you.
Any questions?
That's for me, thank you. We've got more people.
We do. Right. So other, other funding
Yep,
sources.
so monthly I update the, other funding sources spreadsheet. For you, so, as of January 31st, the LATCF funds, which is local assistance to tribal and something funds, is at $347,730.50, as a balance available. Our ARPA interest earned funds, have a balance of $204,887.24. You remember that you spent money out of both of those funds, in January, the LATCF, we approved the nurses for the jail, and the ARPA interest, we approved the excess funds for the nursing home landscape project over the grant, that federal grant that we received. The opioid abatement funds, we have 303,969.61 as a balance available.
And so that, it doesn't include the ones that we've put out.
That includes everything that you've approved to date.
Okay.
The only
Okay.
thing it does not approve is, you'll note when you look at your emails today, I sent you a proposal from White Horse Recovery, which is for $100,000 opioid request. They will be here next Wednesday to discuss that request with you. That is not deducted from this number. Anything that's included in these are projects that you have already approved.
I should also say, I had a call from, a gentleman at North Country Health Consortium, and they're working with Nicole. We have to ask Nicole more about this, but it looked like they were working on a project as well. And will come in with a request on opioid abatement funds in the future. And this is the fund that we never know when things are coming. We were gonna look at getting funding though from the state opioid fund.
I'm not done.
Okay.
Local Assistance and Tribal Consistency Fund.
Consistency. Okay.
Consistency.
All right. Any commissioner issues that you wanted to bring up?
The only thing I wanted to bring up is, I had a chance to do the first read over of our social service applications. And I will say it's very distressing that people can't follow directions to follow what we've asked for.
Wow.
Many of them don't really have program descriptions, and at least two have tax forms despite our instructions of do not send tax forms. Many of them are just their auditor's report, which doesn't describe the programs. I know many of them have been on, we've given many for years, so we know what they do. But I will say, I thought we were quite clear on the instructions this year. But when you read them over, it's just an interesting,
That's not good. Thank you for that.
so just, so I just, again, did the quick read over. Many of them didn't, we asked the specific question of, do they support people with, opioid, issues, for that, without reading it directly, and many people didn't answer that, and that's a yes, no question.
So that's something we need to go back and get.
And many of them, we know that they don't, but it just is interesting that it's just not answered.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at the face sheet on the one that we have today in our pile here. And just wondering, do we even ask for that?
It's, they redid it, it's usually on the second page.
Oh,
This is not,
this is,
I think this, if you remember, I think Julie said this is one that there had been, a death in someone, and so they put it together, so, I will actually give a little bit of, leeway for this as they tried to get it together, but that was just my only comment, and I will have you when you look at them, and then when we start discussing them.
Okay, because this does,
Correct.
this interprets the annual report as a form that you send to the charitable trust.
No, he said their annual report was done online and that he had included it,
Oh, no.
and that
Oh,
he
see
had
it.
sent the 990.
And I haven't reviewed that one.
Okay.
And some are done extremely well and ask everything, so I don't wanna,
So what's the best way, Julie, for you to be able to reach back out to any of these folks? What do you need from us as we read through them?
Well, I guess I need to know which agencies, what you.
yeah, and I can do
from
that,
them.
and some of them again are probably self-explanatory, it's just that what we had asked for, we didn't get. For some of them.
I mean, I think everybody struggled with that last year with what does
Right.
an annual report mean, what
Yeah.
does financial.
And I guess maybe not for this year, but look, as we put it to the question next year, if we can be a little more
Clarify.
clear, yes. And that's all I had.
Commissioner Piper, did you have a?
No, thank you. I appreciate the heads up.
And my only note to myself was a budget schedule, and maybe we can do that next week if.
You're still available that last week of March into the first week of April.
Yes. Yeah, I let Julie know that my schedule has changed. I'm
Oh,
not gonna be gone
oh,
that week.
oh,
Be gone a different week.
welcome back.
Okay. All right, well, I was trying to figure out how to make time until 10 o'clock.
Yeah, I did a good
I
job.
think we did that. Got everything done. So are we ready? Need a break beforehand? Is everybody ready to go?
I'm all right.
Especially since you have a time limit,
Yeah,
unless you
right.
need
Okay.
a break, I think we should just keep
Yep.
going.
Okay, all right, so welcome. And Don, of course, stepped out of the room, didn't
Of
he?
course. My name is Bruce Baxter. I'm with NRI. I work with Don on the Grafton County project and just had to step out.
Sorry, Bruce, can you tell us a little bit about your background? and-
Sure. I've been in EMS for 50 odd years. I retired a year and a half ago after 28 years running a 911 EMS system in the city of New Britain, Connecticut, that was a nonprofit. I've an educator, taught all around the country, done consulting, developed 45th parallel EMS system, and also did a sub-regional system in Franklin County. Started the Exeter Hospital paramedic program, so well acquainted, and used to have a place of residence as a kid in Sugar Hill. So back when Sugar Hill was part of Lisbon and
Yeah,
kind of grew
a
up.
while ago.
So that was a long time ago. So,
So we just had Bruce introduce himself and
good morning.
good morning. Do we need to introduce ourselves?
I think we have a lot of
Yeah.
visitors and more
Everyone,
people
maybe.
coming online.
Okay,
Could we introduce all the folks who are here? Interested in the discussion, in the
Sure,
room as
sure,
well?
sure.
They're
you want to start?
Oh, are we all introducing
Yes, we're gonna
ourselves?
introduce ourselves.
I'm Katie Wood Hedberg. I'm the county commissioner from District 3.
Wendy Piper, County Commissioner, District 1, Enfield, Hanover, and Lebanon.
You can always say the towns.
Yeah.
There's only a few.
We have to go.
Right,
Yeah,
and I've got that in my head
21,
from
I
when I
think.
first ran. Yeah, sorry
Yeah,
about
yeah,
that.
hi,
District
and,
1.
Martha McLeod, and I'm District 2 Commissioner. Northern Grafton County is
There
the
you go.
description, yeah, that.
Good morning, I'm Julie Libby, I'm the county administrator.
Sam Norcross, Administrative Assistant.
Holly Olsoltz.
Assistant County Administrator.
You want to start right over here?
I'll share it to Littleton, New Hampshire.
I'm sorry.
Can you all speak up? I'm sorry, we can't hear it, and,
Sherry, Latula.
Sherry, thank you.
I'm Jim Richardson from Littleton as well. I'm Bill Blanchard from Naval. Bill Tillett from Littleton Fire.
Albro, I'm the Warren County Administrator and Sugar Hill Rep.
Thanks.
Chad Miller from Littleton Fire.
Great, And then online, we have Register Monahan, Representative Spar. I think it's Audrey Champagne from Lisbon, Mr. DeMeo from Sugar Hill, and Representative Sellers from the Bristol area. And I should have said Representative Spars from the Hanover 11. I wasn't sure which town. Okay, all right.
And good morning, I'm Don Bliss. I'm the Senior Public Safety Consultant with Municipal Resources. And I've been
Okay.
the team lead on this project, so.
All right. Do you all have a presentation that we should have?
Yeah, just hold on,
Okay.
please, a second. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Expert over here.
So we're gonna have the slides up on the screen for folks both at home and eventually on YouTube. We have a Mr. Olson who joined as well online.
Did you see Dan?
Yes.
No.
Yeah.
And Daniels as well as joined online.
Let's be an important discussion.
I will say I did notify all of the towns in my district that we were discussing that at 10 o'clock, since some of this originated in the Warren
Yeah.
Worth issue, so I tried to let everyone know.
Somebody from Littleton is calling me.
Here, make it bigger if it's easier for you to see that way.
Just do what? Here?
There we go.
Yay. Okay, well, thanks for the opportunity to be here today. We're gonna go through some of the high points of our study and our project. Right. And then hopefully leave time for questions and discussion. So we won't go through, page by page. and so
Yeah.
forth. I will say, starting out, I think the residents of Grafton County, you should be reassured that you have a very, very viable EMS system. Everybody in the county has access to advanced life support. You've got first responders, you've got ambulance transport services and paramedic response services that are doing a incredible job given the resources they have available to them. I also would like to point out that we received tremendous cooperation from everybody we talked to. As we'll discuss, we did a lot of in-person interviews plus surveys. But there is a strong commitment throughout the county to improve the system as they see it now. And some very serious concerns about some of the weaknesses of the system that we'll be talking about. So that was very gratifying through studies that we saw that happen. So if we can go to the next slide. One of the things that we had talked about, next slide.
You should just go.
One of the things with our report is we tried to make it not only technically accurate, but also very readable for individuals that are not familiar with EMS. So you'll see a lot of detail in there, explaining terms and an overview of the system that we might not normally put in a report. But in terms of process, we included a stakeholder survey. Did site visits, which gave us the opportunity to not only talk to people in person, but also look at the resources available to agencies in terms of equipment, apparatus, ambulances, and facilities. We did a data analysis, although that was somewhat limited, and we'll talk about that as we get into this. We also look carefully at the current and future demographics and growth of Grafton County, because that certainly has an impact on the services that are going to be available. I mentioned in-person interviews, phone and virtual interviews. We also did a SCOT analysis, basically looking at the strengths, challenges, opportunities, and threats to the system. And we developed a mapping tool in cooperation with CAI Technologies. And a representative from CAI will be on the call with us to provide a demonstration of that tool. So if you see Jason Blair.
We just signed.
Okay, good. Next.
So if I can just let people know, this is on the county website. The report is on the website, so you can access it there in total.
Perfect. Thank you. So EMS is more than just picking up the phone and calling and getting an ambulance. It involves, well, we've identified really the 4 pillars of EMS, which we'll talk about in more detail. But those pillars are community engagement, pre-hospital care, which is essentially the EMS service on the street, hospital care, and then the behind the scenes, the training, the recruitment, the continuous quality improvement efforts that make the system what it is today. We go to the next slide. So the community engagement piece is really kind of 2 pieces. One is the financial support, the budgeting, the financial support, and the municipal oversight to the system. Secondly, it's the volunteers that participate either as first responders or as actual members of an ambulance service or a fire department that are treating and transporting patients. The third piece is public education outreach, ensuring that the citizens of the county have the skill sets to be able to deal with a critical emergency when it happens, such as a cardiac arrest, severe bleeding event, those kinds of things where that immediate intervention is what really is critical to the patient outcome and fills that gap between the time that the event occurs and the first responders and the ambulance arrive. So those are major components. Go to the next slide. In terms of the pre-hospital care piece, as I said, this is the kind of the nuts and bolts of EMS. And it starts with communications and dispatch. So your communications center and 911 operation is very critical. The first responders, those that get the call, are there ahead of the ambulance. Then the basic and advanced life support that arrives, and then the ambulance transport. Overseeing all of that is the medical direction and the protocols that originate from the hospitals and from the state. And then there's a program known as Mobile Integrated Health, which a number of the services in the county are doing, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. And that's the ability to provide non-emergency, ongoing patient care in the home, which has a lot of advantages in terms of improving patient outcomes, delivering medical care, and also reducing the number of hospital visits or emergency room visits. Next slide. Hospital care piece includes the critical access hospitals, the stroke centers, the trauma centers, and the interfacility transfer piece, which could include both air and ground transport. Next. The training and CQI pillar, we've included the recruitment and retention piece in that, and that's obviously a very, very critical point. Here is the ability or the inability of services in this region to be able to recruit and retain both volunteers and career personnel. Grafton County is not the only place that's facing that. It is a national problem right now with EMS. So you are not alone in facing this issue. This pillar also includes the ongoing training, certification, and licensing, and then the continuous quality improvement, which is the review of cases, review of incidents to identify what went right, what could have been done better, and then the steps taken to continually improve delivery of service. Next slide. So get now to the current state of EMS.
So do more people want to move in up so you can see? Feel free to do that. I know it's hard to see the screen.
So currently, Grafton County is served by 19 ambulance transport services, of which 14 are fire-based, 3 are municipal operation, non-fire agencies, and 2 nonprofits. And then in addition, there are 8 non-transport FAST squads, which is a first aid stabilization team. That's what FAST stands for. So in terms of demand, there is obviously a rising demand. The EMS call volume, based on the data that we were able to retrieve between 2019 and 2024, EMS calls increased by 20.1%. However, your population increased only by 3.5%. So what's the increase all about? Part of it is aging population. Part of it is obviously tourism and increased traffic, and a lot of it is the rebound post-COVID, where there was a significant dip in EMS calls during COVID, and that has certainly rebounded. So you're continuing to see those increases. Another issue is service gaps. 10 out of the 14 agencies that responded to our survey reported difficulty in meeting call volume demands due to limited personnel and reliance on mutual aid. And we certainly have a workforce crisis here. The system relies heavily on and I can say this myself because it's a graying population, a graying roster of providers that are in the 50 to 60 plus age group. And then there's a severe shortage of younger recruits and volunteers. We have some ideas on how to address that as well. Next slide. So we've listed a number of challenges and threats within the report. I'm just going to touch on the most we think are the most critical ones. First and foremost is financial instability. The cost of 24/7 ALS, advanced life support readiness, is estimated to be probably around maybe even more than $1 million annually. But Medicare, Medicaid reimbursements and private insurance reimbursements do not even begin to cover the true cost of service, which is why you're seeing reimbursements from or appropriations from municipalities to cover that gap, or fundraising to cover that gap. Equipment costs are an issue. The price of a new ambulance has risen either 30 to 50% since 2020. So you can pay anywhere from $250,000 to $500,000 for a new ambulance, which is really crazy. And along with waiting 2 years or more for delivery of an ambulance. So you have to be really thinking ahead about the capital costs of an ambulance. Housing barrier, goes without saying that in New Hampshire, we have an affordability crisis with housing. So potential recruits can't afford to live in the towns they serve, and that, of course, impacts staffing levels. Recruitment and retention is an issue. Volunteer availability is limited. Experienced full-time and per diem providers are clearly in a competitive market. So there's a shortage of those, and many of them are working for multiple services.
Again, just as an example, wages for EMTs and paramedics, largely due to COVID, have expanded anywhere from 35 to 60% in order to turn around and retain staff. COVID was a huge wake-up call that I think a lot of EMS providers, volunteers worked at it because it was a feel-good community service, seemingly without risk. COVID came to the plate. It's literally, as Don said earlier, it's changed the dynamic. You talk about fiscal instability. The last 3 ambulances I bought, I paid $250,000 thereabouts a piece per ambulance. The bid before I retired that came back in, there were $450,000 a piece. Biomedical equipment, defibrillators, cardiac monitors, 30 to 40% increases. And those are costs, as Don said, that without tax-based support
Mhm.
services can no longer afford to keep up. There was a day EMS was volunteer. There was a day that they did local fundraising.
Mhm.
Fundraising right now is a great idea for grants, what have you. But the old days are permanently gone and we're all in transition.
Yes,
Quick question. So you said because of post-COVID that salaries have increased to 35 to 60%. And the equipment costs, is that also what we dealt with, supply chain issues?
It's supply chain issues and it's delays and
Yeah.
supply chain issues
Yeah.
are still prevalent today.
Thank you.
And on the ambulance costs, a lot of it has to do with the fact that there are consolidation of manufacturers. So you've got some big manufacturers that are selling 3 or 4 different brands of ambulance, where in the past, they used to be all compete with one another.
Oh, my
Now
goodness.
it's the one, and fire truck's the same, fire apparatus the same.
I don't mean to get into the weeds too much, but what's the reason behind
Just
the consolidation?
buying out, buying
Just-
companies for profit motives.
Okay.
getting rid of your competition.
Yeah.
Exactly what it
Oh,
is.
that again.
Yeah.
You've heard of that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
But as you can imagine, the shortage of electronics and chips and so forth, that impacts
Exactly.
both the vehicles and the equipment side of things. So, and the last bullet on here is the interfacility transfers. Interfacility transfers are when a patient comes into say, a critical access hospital, needs to be moved to a trauma center or a stroke center for more advanced care, has to be moved by ambulance. So there is a struggle with finding ambulances for those critical transfers, which then stacks up the rest of the system because beds can't free up, the emergency department can't free up. The ambulance service that brought the patient in the first place might be stuck there waiting for something to happen with that patient. So it really is a chain reaction. So
Yeah,
Here we go.
what do we have for? Gotta keep going, please, here. Solutions, and these are just a number of suggestions. One is, of course, regionalization, shifting from the town by town model to a hub and spoke system, where you would have larger agencies, and some of them are in this room here, like Littleton, Plymouth, would cover the smaller communities. You've already got the start of that in place,
Mhm.
but we think there needs to be more conscientious, systematic, strategic planning to make that happen, where you would have a system of ambulance transport and paramedic response services, supplemented by the first responder groups in those smaller communities. Much more economical system, and would ensure that response coverage is made. One of the things I want to make clear, and we said this in our report, is that we don't think that the system that was created in Cheshire County is feasible here right now. Cheshire was in a little bit different situation, a very different situation, where they had a private service that covered 7 communities, go out of business almost overnight, with no replacement, and no other community wanted to pick it up, and there was no other private service willing to come in. So Cheshire had the opportunity, because they had ARPA money,
Yeah.
to build a facility, to buy 8 ambulances, to hire 50 people, to do those things. There's no way that can be replicated here. No
It's
one.
also very different geographically.
Very different geographically. So I know there was some initial fear that, MRI was involved with the Cheshire setup. Are they gonna just try and replicate that here? And I could say categorically, that is not on the table. Certainly, if all of a sudden everybody said, yeah, let's just do a county system, and you had the buy-in from all those communities, conceivably it could be done, but that we don't see that at all on the agenda.
Yeah, I want to step in here. There's a time to do what they did in Cheshire, as Don discussed. There's a time to do what we did up in the Colebrook area. But the blessing they have in Grafton County is that you've got some really good fire-based folks and some really good nonprofit municipal-based EMS chiefs who are talking. And my belief is that having really been in this area since 1958, although I'm now considered a flatlander elsewhere, the public safety chiefs have worked well to build out Twin State Fire Mutual Aid. They've made progress on the fire side. I think that between the EMS chiefs, they have the ability, they've already started sub-regionalizing. I believe 9 of the services here are covering more than 3 communities, some up to 10 communities. And you've got an infrastructure already started. And I'm a firm believer of when you've got folks that have the foresight to do that, empower them, support them to continue on that march in order to improve EMS, as opposed to bringing in and replicating really systems that just need to be tweaked and helped.
And in the report, we laid out some different organizational structures that could be considered. We tried to give you the pros and cons of each, because there's no single, quick fix Band-Aid that's gonna work here.
Yeah.
So there are dozens of EMS organizational structures around the country. We identified 6 different concepts ranging from the village, regional village district concept all the way to maintaining the status quo and what the advantages and disadvantages of each. So we'd urge you to kind of take a look at that and see what makes sense from that perspective. The other opportunity for improvement is that there has been some shift in funding availability, primarily through state legislation. Senate Bill 245, as you know, was sponsored by Senator Prentice. And that sets the private insurer reimbursement rate at 350% of Medicare rates. So that does provide some financial relief on the private insurance side. The other thing the state did was up the Medicare reimbursement to equal what Medicare pays. It was really, really low. The downside is this current funding scheme is only in place for 2 years, while the state does yet another actuarial study. So I think it's going to be important for the county and for all the services to stay engaged with the state on that, to make sure that they use the correct criteria, because the first study they did was severely flawed and had to be revisited. So I think it's going to be important that you really keep an eye on that effort.
What's the actual, I'm sorry. What do they actually want to get out of that? Are they looking at rates that are paid in other places, rates in the state?
They're trying to identify what the actual cost of EMS delivery
Okay.
is in New Hampshire.
All right.
And then come out with a rate that is going to be feasible for both the services to survive, but also for the insurer to satisfy the insurers. So
Wondering where they're gonna get that information of the actual costs.
they're going to be, doing surveys and reaching out to various communities, services.
Right.
How they crunch those numbers, I don't know. Go ahead.
So there was a national study done that was commissioned, that was managed by the American Ambulance Association. The Fire Chiefs Association was involved with this. Every ambulance service was audited by Medicare to determine whether Medicare reimbursement met the goal of, supporting services, providing services to beneficiaries. And the net result of that was some services were doing better than other services. There was a recognition that rural services were legitimately financial challenged. I was on a conference call the other day where the basic thought process was that Medicare was covering about 40% of the real cost of service delivery. So I believe the group that the state has hired was one of the core groups that helped do the national Medicare study from that conference call. So I know that the key players on the EMS side of New Hampshire are well aware of that national report. And I know that they're well attuned to the the challenges, so that I think the state will be well represented by the EMS community in the state audit.
Rural and more
Rural
urban.
and yes,
Because we've certainly seen, over the past 6 to 9 months or whatever, two situations, there's similar amounts, but I just wondered if that was
the other thing I would.
representative of the cost, where you have more dense population and you can,
There are different equations that can be applied to recognize, and Medicare does realize that the reimbursement in Grafton and Powassan County are higher with Medicare, but they're higher because the population density is different. The mileage differences that they have to travel are different.
Yeah.
So my hope is that what New Hampshire comes out with is a little bit better than what they have been
what they
doing.
had, yeah.
The other point that I want to make very clear about this reimbursement issue, that Senator Prentice railroaded through the legislative process, is that it does not absolve the patients of their responsible burden of paying a copay. It's sort of balancing out the No Surprise Billing Act.
Yeah.
So that, insurance companies can't shirk away from paying their fair share. The patient is still going to be responsible for their annual deductibles, and they're still going to be responsible for the 20% copay if they don't have a Medigap or a Medicare extension plan on top of it. It's not going to be, we write a check for whatever the agreed upon amount is, the patient still will have some responsibility for that bill. So,
So that's concerning, obviously, that
well,
perhaps our poorest, most lowest income and oldest residents would still.
I worked in a city that was 54% Medicaid and 38% Medicare. And I will turn around and tell you that we had a very generous, when I say generous, humanistic policy, where we would write off about $2.5 million in bad debt. Because these people literally, do I pay an ambulance bill or do I put food on the table?
Yeah.
And that's the challenge that we're all stuck in.
I feel like in some communities too, they cover some of that. And I don't know if that, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
I will also say that with Medicare, we have to look at the differences in payments with the Medicare Advantage plans versus the Medicare and the Medigap, because there can be huge holes in the Advantage plans.
Medicare Advantage, by and large, there is no deductible when you call an ambulance, meaning there's no limit that you reach. You're tagged between $350 and $450, whether it's an emergency, whether you were admitted, whether it was taking you from point A to point B. You are on the hook for the first $400, $450.
And with the turmoil with, who's gonna be covered by Medicare, who's gonna be able to buy Affordable Care Act
Yeah.
policies, you may end up with more and more uninsured people than.
Your bad debt levels
Exactly.
otherwise are gonna go up.
Yes, in these communities, so. So, if we can get to some good news here. So rural health transformation, as you know, the state has just received $206 million, which is twice of what they expected. Portions of that will be earmarked for EMS. And the two areas that we see potential are going to be funded would be mobile integrated health programs and advanced telemedicine. Telemedicine, of course, provides the ability to provide even more advanced care in the field, treatment in place programs, and the ability to have a closer relationship between the EMS provider in the field and the medical direction or the specialties at the hospital. That's going to require some work on continuing to upgrade the communications networks and to do that, and also the technology involved with putting telemedicine in the field. So that's another area that could hopefully be addressed during the 5-year period of the Rural Health Transformation Grant Program. So that's a tremendous funding opportunity. I know you folks have been working on that as well, so.
Yeah, but I guess in some places we don't even have basic, I mean, we've got some basic service Band-Aids in place.
Yep.
But, you know, some of this advanced stuff and all of that, if you don't have the basic system in place, that
Exactly.
some of that's not gonna be able to fall on.
You actually have several leading mobile integrated healthcare programs that are not telemedicine based, that are going right on within the county. Work that's being done between Lebanon Fire Department and Dartmouth Hitchcock, and the work that's being done between Littleton Regional Hospital through in consortium with Linwood Ambulance, Littleton Fire, and some of the other Lisbon EMS is phenomenal, because they're taking a look at population that have a loyalty relationship with a hospital, meaning that they are frequent patrons. And a number of those patients have unmet healthcare needs, that if you can identify those unmet healthcare needs and either navigate those patients to local resources, or the EMS agency has the capacity through additional training to turn around and provide some of those services directly to them at home. And this can range anywhere from help, I've fallen, I can't get up, to people who have chronic disease entities such as COPD, asthma, things of that nature. There's certain treatments that paramedics can provide in the house that, in collaboration with medical direction, that can basically alleviate the immediate emergency, provide education to the patients so that they know a little bit more about their disease, better manage their disease, not as a single source provider, but collaboration with their primary care providers, in collaboration with the emergency departments. You wind up being able to treat a larger population proactively at home, which I think is really a goal. I know that I'm part of that age group. I don't want to be in a hospital. I would rather have somebody help me be healthier, utilizing some local resources. And I think that, you know, Ed Daniels or Steve Jamison or Dr. Tamako could come speak, or Chief Wheatley. We have another chief behind me here, who's a great guy, who could also speak to the long-term benefits of that.
So next, I'd like to turn this over to Jason Blair from CAI Technologies. They're based in Littleton, but Jason is based in Denver, in Colorado. So for some reason he couldn't make it today. So he'll share his screen and we'll walk you through a demonstration of the mapping tool.
Take this down.
I'm working on it.
Okay, and then I think we need to make sure we let Jason have, sorry, the gun, okay.
So you're on, Jason.
That's hand raised anyways.
Yes.
I think you're muted, Jason. He's still muted. Is he still muted?
Yeah, I think, Jason, see if you can unmute and yourself. It's showing up here that your video and your sound might be off, but it's available to be unmuted.
Luke? Yes. Yes. Really? So he can't unmute or
His mic and his camera are both enabled, so.
both enabled, she said here.
And what if we've had this problem once before? Right?
Yeah, should he leave and rejoin? See if that works.
I'll have to do the same thing.
Hang on a minute.
We just let everybody.
You can, I guess, to log out and log back in.
Yeah, she's suggesting maybe you want to go off and come back. I'll stay on the line with you. Yep.
My kid, who seems to turn on.
We had this problem one other time. Remember, somebody couldn't, we got them on the phone. I'm trying to remember.
And last week, one of, Martha's daughter couldn't get her mic working.
Oh. But if we can't sing, is it possible to just let everybody?
Well, he's still gonna have the same issue,
He is.
because I've enabled his.
Because the camera's disabled. Telling him.
Give him a second, because it's now.
Now it's enabled, okay? Only select participants can unmute.
I don't know what's up with this guy, but he's enabled on
Is it-
both.
On her side, it's been enabled. I don't know why it's not coming through to you.
So can we just enable everybody on the thing and see if that makes a difference? No,
Try one more thing.
You want me to enable it?
we'll just ask people to behave themselves. Everyone else just behave yourself. We're gonna. Think we can. I don't know, there's still a lot blocked out. Oh, there we go.
Working on it.
There's no button to just enable everything.
Nope.
We need to get Scott up, right? Our IT person, work on this. So if this doesn't work, the other thing we can do is have him speak on our speakerphone and have somebody else run the slides. We need to.
Oh, it's
Someone else to try to.
it's a interactive map, so there's no more slides. So
Well,
If they can work.
Billy, why don't you try to unmute and see if you're able, just to test
It
it.
won't work for Julie, because she's an organizer.
Oh,
so
okay.
She doesn't fall
Okay.
under.
is there a different link that he could do it? You could clear him on? The other thing we could do is I could put him on my computer with Google Meet and you folks could see it. The rest of the audience wouldn't see it, but we could show it off my computer.
Representative Spar, are you still there? Can you try to unmute and show your face and just? That could.
But you can ask Mr. DeMayo, he does it every week.
Yeah, true. He doesn't have a video though.
Or talking,
Yeah,
set up a Google.
Mr. DeMayo, can you, yeah, well, he's.
I unmuted. Yes, I
Yep.
unmuted.
Thank you for testing that.
Can he undo his camera?
He doesn't have.
Rep- This is Rep Sellers. I am muted.
Can you show us your face, Representative Sellers? And
I have my laptop closed, so my camera's not on.
your camera's on, okay. This, Register Monahan,
Try
are
yours
you
again.
able to show your video? Some people are here, but not, maybe. So if anyone can undo the video.
No,
Also,
I'm not able to show, I can't show my camera. It's not
Okay,
working.
not working. All right, but Mr. Olson could. So it is working for. So,
Yes, they are. Yep. No, they're using this, no, they're using the public link.
yeah.
Yeah, try that, okay. Just gonna try one other thing.
I've made him a presenter too, so he is the same as all three of us.
See if they're gonna do it now. Second, I'll let you. Oh, candle lighting.
Oh, that.
Yeah. A little longer. It's still graying him out.
I just barely.
Just a sec to
Give it a second, she's updating it.
I have the-
Here we go, here we go. Okay, who's coming on? Yeah. Right, thanks. Good try. Work that time. Call us something.
Thanks for everyone's patience. There we go.
There he is.
Hey.
All right, hello, everybody. Glad we got that working. Nice to meet you all. We have helped on an MRI support this Grafton County EMS project by developing some GIS layers and an interactive web mapping application that I will share on the screen and do a quick demo on how it works and what information we have available.
The chairs that should show on the screen.
You can't pin him.
There we go.
Just
In
did it.
time.
All right, so on your screen, you can see a map of Grafton County. What is currently color coded on this map is the ambulance response areas. The pink colored towns are the Plymouth Fire Rescue District. The gray colored towns are the Grafton ambulance area.
Woodsville. Woodsville.
Woodsville, sorry,
Woodsville.
Woodsville. On the left is the legend for the map. In addition to the color coding for the ambulance response areas, we also are showing the ambulance station locations, including the fast station locations symbolized differently with the red star, and town halls for any community with a town hall that we were able to put on the map. We also included the mutual aid response towns in Vermont. They are shaded in gray. They were not included in the drive time analysis, but they were still showing on the map. So you'll see some overlap between Vermont and Grafton County. Grafton County response areas that respond into Vermont, the analysis bled into Vermont, but we did not include the Vermont stations driving back into Grafton County for any of the analysis. The purpose of this analysis was to determine the drive times required from existing ambulance stations, from existing EMS stations. So in addition to what is shown currently on the map, we also have the drive time areas split into 0 to 15 minute drive time intervals and 15 to 30 minute drive time intervals. When we turn on these layers, you can see what it looks like. The roads are color coded by drive times. So if we go back to the legend, you can see that right now, I just picked a random example. We're looking at Warren Fire Rescue. You can see in the dark green is anywhere that is accessible from this station within 0 to 4 minutes. And as the color lightens, the cutoff intervals increase to 4 to 8 minutes, 8 to 12 minutes, and 12 to 15 minutes. Going beyond that into the orange and red colors are the 15 to 20 minute intervals and the 20 to 30 minute drive time intervals. Obviously, this analysis, it included every existing EMS station in Grafton County. It produced a huge amount of very useful information. All of the drive times, many of the drive times overlap. So the best way to display this was on the interactive web mapping application that allows you to interact with these layers and view different scenarios that you might come up with in the future when looking at what stations to staff, what stations to retain, where to add stations, etc. So the way to interact with this to consider different scenarios is by using the filters. Going back up to Woodsville, what we can do is we can filter the drive times to only show Woodsville ambulance. And when we add Woodsville ambulance, and I'll also turn off these roads. When we add Woodsville ambulance, I'll turn off that layer also. When we filter by Woodsville ambulance, you are only seeing the roads that are accessible to responders leaving the Woodsville ambulance station currently within under 15 minutes of drive time. I'm just letting you take kind of a slower look at this specific example now that we have it filtered. You can see it's much more usable once you filter by the stations. Another example we can look at.
Can you hold it there for just a second, Jason?
Yeah, go ahead.
Let people, leave it in one spot so people can just take a look at it.
Sure.
That makes sense, to everybody? Everybody see what that's?
So Woodsville is covering Newbury and Reigate.
Mhm.
Is that what it's showing?
Yeah, they bleed over into Newbury, Reigate, one other community in
I think it was Groton.
Groton, thank you. And then have 5 communities on the New Hampshire side of the river.
So you can, and I know Jason's gonna get into this, but say, for example, Woodsville wanted to see, okay, what are the most likely mutual aid departments that I should use? They could filter those out and look at, okay, it looks, the reverse of this. What could Lisbon do for them? What could other communities do for them? So it works both ways. Okay, sorry, Jason. Thank you.
Yeah, no, that's fine. So yeah, as Don was getting at, you can filter by multiple stations at any given time. So, if you want to look at how Lisbon can access into Woodsville, we can add Lisbon to this also. And that turns on. Now, areas that are accessible to the Lisbon fire station, also within less than 15 minutes, color coded further in 0 to 4 minute, 4 to 8 minute, 8 to 12 minute, and 12 to 15 minute cutoff intervals for the drive times.
So with both those illuminated, you could see that there are improvements in some of the response areas for Woodsville based on Lisbon's area to cover those sections.
Okay.
And in fact, town of Landow is covered by both services. And as I understand it, there are certain areas of Landow Lisbon will automatically go to and transport from based on response time.
Great. Thanks, Jason.
Yep. When you have multiple stations turned on, you will see that the drive time colors will blend together at a certain point. And that is where the roads are, or that segment of the road will be equidistant between both stations. So here, about here is where you are accessible from both Woodsville Ambulance and Lisbon at approximately the same time. For more information, you can click on any of these road segments and get an information window. Additionally, you don't need to have these drive time layers turned on to get this information. You can click on any segment of road and see where that road is accessible from. So if we clear these filters and we click on this segment here, you can see it is accessible from Lisbon Fire in 4 to 8 minutes and Woodsville Ambulance in 4 to 8 minutes. So you don't need to always interpret the color coding of the roads. You can get it in a text format also. You know, if we go further from Lisbon to say downtown Woodsville, you can see that downtown Woodsville is accessible from Lisbon Fire in 12 to 15 minutes. It's also accessible from Monroe Fast in the same amount of time. And Woodsville Ambulance or Haverhill Medical in 12 to 15 minutes, and then Woodsville Ambulance, obviously in 0 to 4, because it's stationed right there. So this will be a very useful tool for looking at any part of the county, selecting a segment of road, and seeing a list in a list format of what stations can access and how long it will take to get there.
And where is this information located for folks who might want to look at this?
So.
How is it accessible?
So you folks have the link. This is available for anybody to use that you share that link with. It's publicly available. So we thought after the report, then you can decide, send it out to all the services, all the communities, and then they can play with it. They can't pick it, so they can play with it as much as they want. We're happy to help with additional coaching or helping with figuring out how to use it properly. But, that's what you pay for, and that's what services
Excellent.
available to the communities. I think Jason has another scenario we want to show you just to show you the viability of this program. So.
Yeah, so another example we can look at is Plymouth Fire Rescue. So I have the drive times now filtered for showing the Plymouth station only. And you can see that Plymouth extends into Campton Thornton district, as well as Hebron, Bridgewater, and other neighboring communities. Don, I think it was
is only the purple, right? Their actual coverage area is the purple.
the current coverage area is the pink color. So Warren,
Pink.
Wentworth, Rumney, Holderness, Plymouth, and Ashland.
Interesting, yeah.
Turning on Rumney EMS additionally, dispatches from this station, you can see extended coverage is now included.
So the beauty of this is you can compare, if we're just going to staff out of Plymouth, and there's been discussion about staffing out of Romney as well. For this area, you can see how that improves coverage into Warren and Wentworth, and what else we got on there? Dorchester. Is that Dorchester?
And you can toggle on and off these scenarios fairly easily. Look at really any combination that you would like to review.
Well, or Waterville Valley, what's going on?
They're on public safety agency,
They do, they're.
fire, EMS, and law enforcement.
And fire EMS.
EMS and law enforcement.
All the same, okay.
So you're asking about Waterville Valley. If we select Waterville Valley, you can see that there is a station in Waterville Valley. It's also accessible by the Campton Thornton location, but it's 12 to 15 minutes to access Waterville Valley from Campton Thornton. And that's the only other station that is within a 15-minute drive time interval of Waterville Valley. We can turn on the 15 to 30-minute areas and see if that provides more access. So now within 15 to 30 minutes, we have Linwood, Ashland, and Plymouth Fire Rescue as options for assisting in Waterville Valley providing aid to Waterville Valley if needed. But obviously the drive times are much extended.
And only summertime. In one direction. Yeah,
Yes, yeah, you can't go the other way.
yeah.
Great. Jason, can you show the legend that shows the various agencies and the information about them?
Oh, yes. So here, let me turn these off. So additionally, you can get the information about the drive time areas, the roads, the access areas. If you click on any community, you can also see who the responding agencies are. So we're looking at Waterville right now. Just clicking on this Waterville Valley polygon, ambulance service is Waterville Valley, ALS service is Waterville Valley. There's no defined fast station. Primary medical is SMH, alternate hospital, CHHS Concord, and the ambulance station address. So this information exists for every town in Grafton County.
Now, one thing I'll say, this is particular to the users, when they get using this, we've gone through this pretty carefully to make sure that that data is accurate in terms of response agencies, hospitals and so forth. But if there are errors, that's easy to fix. We can fix that data very, very quickly.
I have a question about the roads that just tags on to what you said in the summer. As we see these roads go out, having traveled many of them, it looks like it's only a 15-minute drive, but you really can't go one direction. It gets to be a class 6 road or something, even though if you're doing GPS or something, it looks like it's a regular road. Is that taken into consideration?
Those kind of very, very specific local details, no, because Jason can explain he's using Google Drive Time.
Okay.
Which doesn't include total response time. So if you have a volunteer agency where folks are coming from home to
Right,
get to
yeah.
the station, that you have to add that in.
Okay.
Yeah,
So it's not actually, just to clarify, it's not actually Google Drive Times, but it uses a publicly available data set of average drive times over all of history. Obviously with an analysis of this size, many assumptions had to be taken into account. If this, project continues to get more specific, if, for example, you did want to look at Waterville Valley specifically, we are able to add more criteria into it and get more in depth and say, this road's one way or this road is closed half of the year. We can add that criteria into it, but currently at the countywide level that this analysis was performed, it was performed using general assumptions that all roads were available year round. And using average drive times. It didn't include rush hour traffic. It doesn't include, seasonal closures, night versus day, anything like that. It's a complete average of each road segment.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Jason? Anything else you wanted to talk about, Jason?
I think that covers it for me. The only other thing I was going to show real quick is we do have this address search tool in the top. So if you wanted to look at a specific location on the map and, maybe it's a town that you don't travel to very often, you don't know, you can't find it exactly by zooming in. You can use this search tool to put in any address and zoom right to it. So just wanted to show you that option here. And otherwise, I think that covers everything. And I know it's, there's a lot here to look at. Hopefully everyone finds this beneficial and gets some good use out of it.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you, Jason. And thanks for the technology challenge.
Yes.
Thank you, Jason. Okay, so I hope that, number one, you find that useful, and I hope the folks here will.
Yeah, even more so that
That tool, and
find it useful.
I know you're doing some master planning and some strategic, so hopefully that'll help. Also on the fire side as well, so.
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, I'm really looking forward to digging into that. I think that's a tremendous tool. We've looked at it, tried to look at it both through ISO and some of the restriction there. Just as alluded to, that there's a difference in response from staff stations and non-staff stations. So while the drive time is the drive time, you know, we fall under the standard 1710 from the NFPA. That says we have a 60-second turnaround time. That's the expectation for just the first new call. So the ambulance is on the road in that type of time frame, you know, plus 15 minutes to get there potentially. Other stations may not have that. And additionally, second calls and third calls are, you know, not necessarily held to that standard as well if you're not staffed at that level.
Thank you. Right.
Go back to the PowerPoint where we have two more slides. We're done. Okay. So in terms of recommendations, we try to take into consideration what the difference between local responsibility over EMS services are versus what you as commissioners or what the county can or should be doing based on the way counties work in New Hampshire. So the first thing we recommend, and there are 10 recommendations, but these are the grouping of top 4 issues. One is to establish a strategic task group that would be a formal body that would be coordinating, planning, identifying the synergies between the various parts of the county and seeking funding without superseding the existing mutual aid system. So we look at this as sort of an overarching coordination group, not to step on what's happening in Twin State or Lakes Region or any of the other mutual aid groups that are currently doing some strategic planning as folks here. And the idea is not to compete with them, but provide that support, coordination, so that county-wide you have some consistency, and in areas where the county commissioners can step in and help, or the legislative delegation can step in and help. That's that group that would kind of filter that information or promote that. So that's first area. Second area would be a countywide volunteer recruitment and retention program. And there are some successful examples around the country. And there is some funding available through the FEMA Assistance to Firefighters grant programs, where they will actually fund, if you put in a grant, you could potentially fund a volunteer recruitment program. And conceptually, you might have a part-time person there that could set up maybe a clearinghouse for volunteer opportunities. So people could call and say, hey, I want to volunteer in my community, what's available. But the long game is really establishing relationships with high schools, vocational centers, colleges for EMT programs, promoting volunteerism and promoting EMS as a career. So that's really the long game to address this issue. The other piece is advocating for data. As I mentioned, we were not able to get data from the State Bureau of Emergency Medical Services for a variety of reasons. But even something as simple as the state turning around the other clearinghouse for and the recipient of the patient care reports and the data from every single service, there's no reason why they could not have a dashboard on their website, have an annual report, being able to query information on the behalf of agencies or groups to do that. So we would encourage you to advocate both with the Department of Safety and with the legislature to make that happen. Many other states do that. New Hampshire does not. So that's
And the reasons why they gave you that they could not get
the
that.
big issue was their interpretation of the privacy rules, which we don't agree with, but you know about that.
A lot of states, EMS data resides within the Department of Public Health. And the Department of Public Health in states closely follow the HIPAA rules and regulations. Because EMS is within fire service standards training and EMS, they were free to turn around and design a program to secure that data that minimally met the requirements of HIPAA, but they went very broad, so that when we called, there was a process that we would have to go through. And from the point in time that if we were approved for the data that we were seeking, it would have taken them 6 months to produce it. Easy solution, because although the Department of Public Health held our data when I was in Connecticut, they published a de-identified collective report that was based on service and based on community, so that you could see that XYZ ambulance service did 800 responses, transported maybe 400 patients a year, and some basic data as to how many providers they had, at what level of service they were, what level of service the patients required in aggregate, so that you weren't getting on a microscopic basis that, Mr. Baxter lived at 374 Sunset Hill Road, and he was transported to the hospital 12 times. What are the major chief complaints of patients, the medical complaints patients and communities going to? What are the top 20 medical dispatch complaints for Grafton County? How many cardiac arrests walked out of the hospital alive? Good data, so that the legislators, so that the town leaders can turn around and say, hey, my investment in EMS is giving me a good return on that investment without exposing anybody. Your local fire chiefs and EMS chiefs have access to that data, but a few of them told me that learning how to use ImageTrend, which is their platform. If you've ever heard of Epic, which is an electronic medical record system that is very, very powerful, well, ImageTrend is very powerful. But a lot of your fire chiefs are multitaskers, and they don't have the time to spend a half a year learning a data program. OEMS will run reports, customized reports for them, but it's their data that they're running reports for. So when consultants come through, or when legislators come through, or when town officers come through, there should be a collective report that you can look at that isn't going to harm anybody, but give you the confidence that, hey, my service is responding, or give you the information you need to say, and have a conversation with your chief. How can we do better than what we're doing today? And state of Connecticut does it. I believe that the state of Massachusetts is developing it. The state of Maine does it. It's something that I think would be very, very helpful for everybody.
And we get that from our hospital discharge data reports. Yeah.
So it's doable. It's just a matter of having the will and the commitment
Yeah.
to make it
Do
happen.
it.
So,
Yeah.
so, and of course, advocating for funding, as we discussed earlier, about through the Medicare rate, or the rate legislation and so forth. So another area that you might consider would be looking at helping communities with group purchasing. So both for vehicles and equipment. So whether that's setting up a group purchasing system here that agencies could participate in, or guiding them on other group purchasing efforts that are available. For example, Sourcewell, run by the state of Minnesota, which you folks participate in, you're a registered user on that system, has group purchasing available that any public agency could, or nonprofit could participate in. And certainly they can use the state purchasing system as well for items that are on state bid, but helping communities navigate those things.
And just having done a lot of work with the Houston Galveston Purchasing Cooperative, the only upcharge for me, because I was a nonprofit corporation in Connecticut, was $100 surcharge in order to buy off once a year, $100 surcharge to buy ambulances off the HG list, which saved me tens of thousands.
Plus the administrative time.
Yeah.
Of bidding,
Yeah.
developing specifications. And then the other issue on funding, or terms of funding, another idea would be establishing a fund that the FAST teams could access to acquire automatic external defibrillators, trauma kits, to equip their personal vehicles and so forth. So that's just another idea. And then also being able to place bleed kits and defibrillators in publicly accessible buildings throughout the county. And that gets to that community engagement piece. And that does indeed save lives. So houses of worship, places of assembly, public buildings, having AEDs like I'm sure you do here in this building, and bleed kits will make a significant difference. And then the final piece, which we've already talked about, was the Rural Health Transformation Grant. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any, well, the final conclusion is certainly the status quo is unsustainable. We know that, that we can all sit here, you know, fat, dumb, and happy and say, well, we're doing a great job, let's continue, but that's not going to work. As we said, there's no one size fits all solution. It's got to be customized not only for Grafton County, but for within portions of Grafton County. And our call to action certainly are the recommendations that we've already provided to you. So we hope this is helpful. Again, I'd like to thank the commissioners and those that have helped us with the information, the data, the interviews. It was truly a very collaborative, cooperative effort. And we hope that this is the first step in laying the groundwork for future improvements to EMS in Grafton County. So thank you.
Thank you.
I just have a couple, really a couple of comments that, I think that the next couple of weeks are going to really, so I'm from Plymouth and I go from Warren all the way down to Bristol. And, as many of you know, this bubbled up when Warren Wentworth was going through their trouble and then went out of business. I will say there are 5 towns that, it's 5, right, Austin, that have it on their warrant articles, that have on their warrant articles this year to consider being a village district, which through DRA, it's a 2-year process. So they had to do the first one. So if that gets passed, then we have at least a pilot project to see how it works. And going off of that, we as commissioners, we worked on and submitted our own request to the Rural Health Transformation Grant, looking to do a pilot project and then perhaps 3 to 4 others if we got funded, and to, you know, to help with the equipment and whatnot. And so we're waiting to see if any of that is earmarked for us. We haven't been able to get that information.
Trying to find out.
You know, we're looking for that information, but
That's the.
but it's one of those things that it's not one size fits all for the county. And I also just want to assure people who are online and here that this isn't being pushed, you know, down anyone's throat, but we might have these availabilities, and with a pilot project that would be starting in the area that was very, it was hit really hard. And I don't know if people saw it, but in this a few days ago in the Valley News, there was an article about Grafton, the town of Grafton, having a contract with Canaan now to provide services because they were unable to continue their own, for all of the reasons you mentioned. So it is definitely throughout the county.
Sure. But personally, I think you're taking the right approach. Number one, by calling attention to this issue, by having a study done. Secondly, by providing the leadership that's not jamming it down anybody's throat, recognizing that it is local control, there is collaboration, coordination going on, play off your strengths that you already have in the county, and facilitating this kind of discussion and movement on this thing. So I think that those steps you just identified are really admirable.
Yeah, I think if I can just add to that, I think we'd really like to hear from our towns and the services, what you think of the report, what's useful in it, what you think the recommendations, and steps forward that you'd like to see us take so that we can have some more discussion about that. You know, I think the report, really, we wanted to provide to be a resource anyways for folks in the county. All of this information, and so really appreciate that those of you who are able to contribute to that, and whether, even if you weren't, just your interest in it is important, I think. So we'd love to hear from you. I don't think we have time today to hear from everybody. So, please feel free to call any one of us and let us know what you think. Send an email to Julie, who can distribute some of that, but, take some time, read the report. Let us know what's useful, what kinds of ideas you'd like to see us consider moving forward. If there's anything we need to do, or if you think we've done enough and you want to take some things on yourself. But, we did apply for some funding, a significant amount. We have not heard yet from anyone if they're going to consider funding the ideas that we had around just helping start up some basic, costs of regionalizing or working together, any of those kind of networking things to do. So.
And just reiterating what Commissioner McLeod said before, if you go to the Grafton County website, it's on the front page. You'll see a bunch of little green circles, and one of them says EMS, and it links right to the report. So it's available to everyone.
You're able to put the link to the mapping tool right there.
And that's what I was
Yeah.
gonna say. I think that would be the thing to.
I
do
think,
that.
yeah, I would agree. So,
Thank you.
Yeah, so.
Nope, I'm all set. Thank you.
Any questions, overall questions? We will take public comment. We didn't want to make this a public hearing of any kind. Put you all on the spot like that, but we will do a public comment session. And do you mind doing that? I
No.
personally have a little emergency at my work that I have to run to Concord.
And when you do that, I'm happy to come online and be available for questions.
well, and that's great. And I think we'll just do public comment now, which is not a back and forth question, but again, a welcome to anyone to call us or email us to get those questions out. And we know we have the resource for.
Yeah, so feel free to pose a question. We'd love to hear your comments. Pose a question.
And we can get answers.
And we'll see what we can do about getting more information.
Yes, we just won't answer them today.
Right.
So Commissioner, are you saying that we're doing that now? We're going to public comment now?
I think everything else on our
Okay.
agenda has been covered. Yeah, so I think we could just go directly into that.
Sure.
So my apologies for that.
Okay, so I'll start with the room. Yes, thank you.
I'd like to thank the commissioners, and MRI for doing this study and, for the data they've been able to gather together. I feel like there's a lot of good here and a lot to work towards. I'm very concerned about SB 245 study. You run the government as well, and we are not at all set up like a business. I don't see a lot of the costs that we bear in the fire department budget. So just to give you and if that's what fire chiefs and EMS chiefs are using to push forward as the cost of it. In the operating budget for the fire department, there's no capital expense. There's no debt service. I have a boss, a town manager, who also makes decisions. There's no funding for that in there. There's no funding for the office that he works out of. We don't pay for payroll services. We don't pay for HR services. So it's extremely difficult in government to say, what percentage does the fire department use HR? Probably a little bit more than I'd like in my department, to be honest. But I think you all, having worked in government and designed budgets in government, understand that that may work well in the business sense. It does not at all work well capturing all of the overhead costs related to operating these services in the government sector. And so we're really going to need strong advocacy to make sure that conversation is had, that it's discussed how difficult it is, and that we build a template to help departments come up with some of these costs that they just may be not thinking of. I've advocated this with the Hampshire Association of Fire Chiefs as well. So hopefully there'll be some good documents coming out to provide some guidance to departments. Cause I think that could, in some cases, double or triple the cost of providing the service.
Thank you. Are there any other comments from members of the public that are in the room?
I've got something from last meeting and I can hit on this real quick too. if you
Sure.
want. Two acts today. I
Sure.
didn't realize this was on the agenda today, so it worked out really well.
Oh,
Might make me look like I'm smart being the fire chief.
Look at that.
Honestly, it's just an addition. So as far as this stuff goes, the town of Haverhill, I'm the fire chief in Haverhill, we merged, we had village districts, and it was kind of a mess. We merged 2 of the 3 departments. I think something to keep in mind is the fire chief, not so much on the EMS side, is you're gonna be looking at regionalization of all services. at
Yep.
some point. So the recruitment and retention that these fine guys talked about was great. The state had somebody, and then they didn't renew the position for the fire side, it was recruiting. So it's something that needs constant attention, and you can't let off the top. As soon as we let off, we were gonna fall right back into the old ways. My second thing, the reason that I was originally here is I watched Mr. Hatch come in and give you a history lesson on farming and everything that he's done. I want to make just a couple points on that.
okay,
If we're talking about private and public enterprise,
thank you.
I plow driveways. Do I have an opportunity to plow for the county? No, right? We have people.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. Right, okay,
If I plow driveways, do I have a chance to come plow for the county? Private and public?
right.
I own a plumbing company as well. I'm not in the county plumbing. We hire people to save money, right? If you take the revenue of milking out of the farm, your vegetables and stuff is gonna last 2 years. And you guys will be done with it. 'Cause it's gonna be such a cost. So I appreciate Mr. Hatch coming in and giving you the side of, we need to get out on price of beef side. Are any other farms in the area selling cows right now? They're still milking them. So as good as it sounds to maybe get out of this, I think it's crazy that one person came in and can sway us in one direction or not. Your jobs are to look at the total cost of everything.
Mhm.
$30,000 is a lot less of a loss than the farms had in the past.
Mhm.
So to preface this whole thing, I think back in the day, Hatchland was even one of the companies that was providing some of the field work, if I remember correctly. It appears to me on what's available online for your budgets, that I went on and looked at, instead of asking Ms. Julie to present all that stuff, that's trending in the right direction for a change. I think it would be behoove you to allow that to play out. I think Mr. Libby's doing a great job. I would look at what our inflation has done. Everything's more expensive
Mhm.
today. What were we doing back then that's not costing us as much money today? That makes sense.
Mhm.
So he's saving us money at a time that's the highest inflation, but we were spending more money back in the day and that was fine. I wouldn't want to be a county commissioner that ended 160 years of history, whether it's nostalgic or a hobby farm, whatever anybody wants to call it. I'm not one of the issue. So thank you for everything you guys do. Thank you guys for the
Thank you.
presentation. It's good stuff. I think that to end my rant, doing it county-based is huge versus one town trying to assemble something that we're gonna do versus Littleton getting into Franconia. County-based is gonna help, and I'm also the president of Twin State Fire Mutually, so.
Yeah.
The third reason why I'm here.
Thank you very much. Are
Thank
there any other comments from members of the public that are in the room? Okay, then we'll turn to the screen. If you do have a comment, if you would simply raise your hand, and so I'll call on the people who have their hands raised, and I saw Representative Sellers first.
Thank you. So as I was listening, you can hear me, right?
Yes, we sure can.
Okay. As I was listening, I have a couple of concerns I just wanted to raise. Grants are good. If they're one-time grants, we gotta build something that's sustainable. So if you're getting $10 million and it's only one time, we can't just build out an EMS service that's gonna be for year after year. We have to figure out how to get sustainable. Second thing is that I found interesting is some departments do not want just EMS service. They want EMS fire training as a combination. Yet there are some people that don't have the strength or the ambition to do the fire side. So therefore we lack on personnel that could actually be used for EMS. And the other part of that is part-timers. Part-timers are not being paid the same typical wage as a full timer. Yet we're not giving them benefits, and they typically should. I mean, full timers getting what, $35 to $60 an hour per se, and part timers are still working around $20 to $25 at most, maybe even less. So these are the things I want to point out. The also, as far as equipment goes, van style versus truck style ambulance. What's the goal here? Is the goal to emergency service trying to get them to the hospital and let them get the life saved and service? Or is it, we trying to treat the patient on site and do more than we should be? That's what I'm thinking, is because those two expenses are van versus truck style, a big difference in cost. The another thing I heard was a lot more people wanting to stay in their homes, that are older, instead of going and stay in the hospital. So you may have more cost to the community, because they may end up requiring ambulance services more often than if they would just stay or be in the hospital. So those are some of the things I heard there that I was just bringing up concerns about. I think. Oh, I wanted to find out. I'm in the Bristol area. We have EMS service to 4 towns, and our budget is $2 million this coming year. Of course, that's with fire and EMS, so it'd have to be broken out. But it's usually around 50-50 or 60-40. And that's without capital improvements as far as ambulances go. So, I mean, and that's just 4 towns. So I'm just wondering, how are these successful ambulance service running? Are those the successful ones, the only ones that are actually doing multiple towns? Are those the only ones that are really successful, or are there others? And last thing, not to do with the ambulance, has to do with the Department of Justice. As far as increasing their cost, we shouldn't really be taking what they want to give us. We need to tell them they're paying us X number of dollars, maybe 3% one year, maybe 6 or 7% the next year. We have to cover all our expenses plus repairs. So we need to make sure we're charging them the right amounts. That's all I had to want to share. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. And Mr. DeMayo.
Thank you, Commissioner Piper. I think Mr. Bliss, I think it was Mr. Bliss, group purchasing, we're eligible for group purchasing. Is that correct, Mr. Bliss?
Actually, we're not taking questions.
All right. Well,
Mr.
I think that's
Okay.
a good idea. Group purchasing. I think as a county, we should look into group purchasing. Maybe we can get cheaper prices for the vehicles as a group.
Okay.
The other thing is, I have 2 more points. The other thing is, we should look at casinos. Casinos should kick in some of their money for. We should make that through the legislature. Make that part of their kickback to the county for building their casinos. Some of that money should go to EMS. You could also charge user fees to the skiers coming in, to the hikers coming in, to everybody else coming in to offset the cost to the taxpayers. And the other thing to reduce costs is student teaching. You have nurses, you have people in the medical field who are taking probably 4-year courses. I know when I taught school, my last semester was for free, teaching in a town school, and I didn't get paid, but that was part of my degree, student teaching, and they would learn this skill and be part of their criteria for graduating. Thank you.
Thank you. And that's all the hands that I see. So before we adjourn, I think that we did not talk about other commissioner issues. Did you have anything that you wanted to?
Oh, I did mention my one commissioner issue was the what was the social service application.
Oh, we did? Oh, okay. All right, then motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.